So today we're going to go through a bunch of tools to analyze malware and some tools that are helpful in analyzing malware and just kind of the environment that we actually analyze malware in. To start, just a few tools listed here. 7-Zip is just an overall good archive manager. It allows you to open up many things, including RAR, so you don't actually have to have the WinRAR suite on your system. And then a bunch of other lesser known formats, and it's just an overall good tool, integrates well with the system. Secondly, we have Python, and that's just because a lot of tools use Python in their back end, and it's required on the system. And Python also allows you as a malware analyst to develop scripts very quickly on the fly, do a whole bunch of things, encryption, decryption, network analysis tools, things like that. It's just a very good language to learn, especially in this field of work. The next thing we have here is the Microsoft symbols. These are very good to have, especially for Ollie debug with certain plugins, because it allows you to debug a program, and when you're calling certain Windows APIs, it will lay out the arguments on the stack for you and allow you to see exactly what parameters are being passed to the API without having to guess. So if it's calling heap free or virtual alloc or get command line A, or these type of things, anything that requires arguments to be pushed on the stack, it will actually label what that argument is. So is it a size, is it a file name, is it a read-write permission, things of that nature. So it helps debug programs a lot quicker than you normally would and understand them better. Next here is the Malware Analyst Pack, or MAP, and what that is a suite of tools that integrate well into the system and allows you to do small things like right-click a file and quickly do MD5 hashing, or a quick strings analysis, or send a file to VirusTotal, things like that, things that are kind of offshoot, but you need to get metadata off of files. It allows you to do that very quickly. And then down here at the bottom we have our common exploit vectors that we see in malware. So Adobe, Java, Flash, Microsoft Office, all four of these make up a pretty large attack surface that people go after. So having these on the system, especially slightly outdated versions of them, will help you analyze malware that uses exploits against either old versions of these or emerging versions that have come out. And Microsoft Office obviously is not free. You can get a Microsoft Office viewer for free, but yeah, if you have an old key laying around for Microsoft Office, even an old version of Office, it's good to have on the system for malware analysis, just so you can launch those type of files and analyze the malware in its behavioral environment. And then next we have NOTEPAD++. This is an excellent text editor and allows you to do many things, including converting encodings. It serves as a good IDE, so if you're starting to code stuff, in Python or whatever, or C++, and you just want a quick down and dirty IDE, this will allow you to do it. And it also has many plugins that you can download from the repo. I just have a couple here, but it also has some built-in things like turning ASCII characters into hex or hex into ASCII, very handy. Some base64 encoding stuff here, URL encoding, etc. So NOTEPAD++ definitely a must-have. And then from here we're just going to kind of work our way down from the icons here on the left-hand side. And we have IDA-Pro, 32 and 64-bit. What this allows you to do is disassemble executable files. So disassembling a file will allow you to see the underlying assembly code that makes up the instruction sets. So here we go. We use this as an example. So like I said, disassembling file, you can see the underlying assembly code and work your way through reverse engineering the file, finding the bad things in it, how it works, any kind of decoding routines or what it's doing to the system without actually running the file. And IDA Pro has plugin functionality, so you can run certain sorts of plugins that are built for IDA, and you can also run many scripts. For instance, color IDA, which will color calls and things like that, or highlight anti-disassembly, anti-reversing type of things. So this is a very key staple to malware analysis, and it takes quite a while to actually master this tool. Moving down, we have x32 debug and x64 debug, and this is just simply a 64 and 32-bit debugger in a GUI environment. It has plugins galore, a lot of different functionality, but this will allow you to actually run the file and debug it as it is running. So the two key staples of malware analysis is the debugger and the disassembler. So a lot of times what you'll have is the debugger over here, and then IDA Pro or your disassembler on the other side. And as you're stepping through the debugger, you'll have the disassembler up more as your roadmap, and then your debugger is you actually driving the car, let's say. So IDA provides you a map kind of showing you where you're going, and the debugger is as you're doing it. So two very key things. And then below that we have OllyDebug, again just another debugger, but this one's been around for a very long time, but it is only 32-bit, so you can't debug 64-bit files. But the plugin functionality in this is massive since it's been around forever, so being able to have this around is helpful. And same with Immunity. Immunity and Olly are very similar, but Immunity has a Python scripting engine built into it, so that can come in handy sometimes. Then we have JPEG's Flash Decompiler. What this allows you to do is decompile Flash files, so SWF files, and you can get to the action script code below them and use it as a debugger to step through that code. Very useful. It is a little buggy sometimes, but it's the best Flash decompiler that I've been able to find out there. Then we have DNSpy. DNSpy is specifically for .NET files, and it will allow you to decompile them back to pseudo source, so you can see what files, what type of code is going on in the background. So it's really handy, especially nowadays, because a lot of malware is written in .NET, but you can follow along right with the code. Normally it's not obfuscated in any kind of way, so you can just read through it and you don't have to read straight assembly, and it's helpful. And this allows you to not only read it, but disassemble or to debug the file at the same time, so you can step through the code just like anything else. Next we have here two different hex editors, HEXPLORER and 010 editor. 010 editor has a ton of templates that you can download as needed that will help you parse out different fields and different files, so executable templates or picture templates or audio templates, and just a ton of functionality. And then HEXPLORER is just a straight up hex editor. It does have some crypto and some different functionality to manipulate strings and bytes. And moving down, we have two executable inspectors. Particularly PE Studio is very nice. What it allows you to do is get a very quick overview of a file. So it'll give you all sorts of metadata, all the hashes, things of that nature. It will look up in virus total to see if it's ever been seen. It'll give you all the DOS stubs, the optional headers, the different directories, the sections within the file, the libraries that are imported, the particular imports, the APIs that are called from those libraries that the file uses, any kind of exports. You can look through the resources. Sometimes there are embedded files, pictures, executables, things of that nature. Any sort of debug information, strings. Right now this file has quite a few strings, so it's taking a while, but it will give you a very, very quick overview of the file and help you determine its maliciousness or its entropy, or just if it's interesting to look at. And then CFF Explorer is very, very similar to PE Studio, but it has some unique features down here at the bottom, like hex editors, dependency walkers, and address converters. So if you want to take a virtual address from, let's say, your disassembled file in IDOBE, you can throw it in here and it'll calculate the particular file offset, and you can actually go in and modify bytes. Say if you need to modify a anti-analysis function, or you name it, you can go in and do it. Very handy tool. Moving down, we have Lord PE and SCYLLA. Both of these are dumpers and import reconstructors. These are mainly for files that have been packed, and you can dump them from memory and start to reconstruct them, especially their imports, so you can get a unpacked file that works. And both of these tools do that very well. Next we have two network tools that can be used in conjunction with one another. First is FakeNet, and the next is GANAPE. FakeNet will divert traffic to a location of your choosing, and it does so very, very well. It does it so well, it catches pretty much everything on the system and diverts it. So if you have a file that is reaching out to a remote server, you can intercept the traffic with FakeNet and divert it back to your own machine. And you can use GANAPE, for instance, to set up listeners or servers or HTTP reverse proxies. You can man in the middle of the traffic. You can manipulate the packets and send it back. GANAPE is a very, very robust tool and is very, very good at disassembling and deconstructing network protocols. So this can be used in exploit development, or just research, or finding out how, let's say, a botnet or a backdoor communicates with its command and control server. Many, many things you can do with GANAPE, and FakeNet helps enable that. And then next we have PDF Stream Dumper. This obviously just helps us look at PDFs, and you're able to dump the streams and objects from them, so you can look at them a little further and see what they're doing. Cheat Engine is a memory analysis tool. The name Cheat Engine is what it was used to be used for, and still is actually. But it used to be used to help people cheat in games. You can search memory and search values and find them, find what manipulates them, and manipulate themselves, so you could turn on infinite ammo or infinite life, things of that nature. But Cheat Engine, because it is so good at looking through memory, it helps us in malware analysis to search through memory, particularly in malware, and find things of interest, decode tables, indicators of compromise, servers, decrypted strings, things like that. So very, very good tool. And then going down the bottom bar here, there's quite a few icons. But we have Visual Studio, of course, just to either write code or debug script files, VBS, JS, things like that, and you can debug them in Visual Studio. And then the next three icons, we have Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Chrome, just the three most popular browsers, and potential exploit vectors. So it's always good to have all three of those versions to see how files react differently to each one. So next we have a couple network interception tools, FIDDLER and BURPSUITE. FIDDLER is primarily used for HTTP interception. It can be used as a proxy. You can divert other traffic to it, but it's primarily used for web. And it has a lot of tools that helps you out with that. And then BURPSUITE is also primarily used for HTTP traffic. It can be used as a proxy for many other things, but primarily HTTP. And it has a lot of functionality to help with proxying the data, manipulating the data, analyzing it, replaying it, sequencing, decoding, comparing, like a ton of features. It allows you to do this very seamlessly, all in one tool. And then next we have FILEZILLA and MALZILLA. They sound similar, but they're quite different. FILEZILLA allows you to log into FTP servers, so if you need to transfer data or if you find something in malware it's using an FTP server, this allows you to maybe log into it, find files, download them, things like that. MALZILLA, on the other hand, is a tool that allows you to reach out to the web and download suspicious files, particularly if you find URLs or links or something in malware that's trying to reach out and download additional files. This allows you to paste those strings in here and either get the file to the screen or get the file to a file so you download it. And this allows you to avoid going out with a web browser to a potentially malicious site and infecting yourself with something else, and just allows you to get those files in a safer way. It also includes many other tools like shellcode analyzers, decoders, pscript debuggers, and things like that, all in one very nifty tool. So that helps out quite a bit. So our next tool is similar to FileZilla. It allows you to, it's called PUTTY, and it allows you to log in via SSH and serial connections. Again, just logging into different services if you need to. Then we have trusty old WIRESHARK, everyone's favorite network protocol analyzer. Allows you to sniff network on the, sniff packets on the network and analyze the protocols in many different ways. And the next couple programs go in tandem with one another. We have Sandboxy and Buster's Sandbox Analyzer. And Sandboxy is a sandbox. It allows you to run a file in a closed off environment from the system where the files don't affect your system. So if they drop out files or configs or mess with the registry, those changes aren't permanent. So that allows us to analyze files in a safer way, particularly for dynamic analysis to get a quick overview of what the file does. Now Buster's Sandbox Analyzer takes those logs from Sandboxy and monitors a bunch of other things like API calls, registry changes, network communications, things like that, and puts it in a very nice format for us to get a quick overview, quick behavioral / dynamic analysis of a file. So it cuts down on a lot of tedious tasks that can be combined all into one. Now it doesn't always work. There are anti-sandbox techniques that some files use, but this does work for the majority of files and helps cut down on analysis time significantly. Next we have just a link to command prompt and PowerShell. Just a quick way to interface with the system. Have those on standby. And then we have a SYSINTERNALS tool called AUTORUNS. And what AUTORUNS allows us to do is search common locations on the system where malware likes to hide, particularly in the WinLogon registry keys, startup folders, services, particular scheduled tasks, all sorts of locations. And this tool does come with the Windows Windows SysInternal suite, which contains over 100 tools, I believe. But AUTORUNS is very, very nice to have on hand to search out all of these different places that malware likes to use for persistence. And then next is the snipping tool, which is built into Windows. That allows us to take quick screen captures for reports. Instead of doing print screen and paint, you can just do this to drag and copy a particular area very quickly. And next we have a special tool called Process Hacker, and what this does is supplements Windows Task Manager, and as you can see, it displays all of the programs which are currently running. It allows you to very easily dive down into many details about the program, such as the different memory segments. We can open those up and view the data in them. We can view their environment blocks, any kind of handles that are there, all the loaded DLLs, any kind of statistics, things of that nature. And a very, very, very deep dive into different files and running processes. We can suspend them, create dumps, debug from here, view the services, network communications, disk activity, find DLLs by handle. And one specific feature that's really nice is this run as feature. So a lot of malware will try and kill analysis tools, and what the run as feature allows us to do is run a tool as different users, particularly as system. So system level is above administrator access, which most malware runs at. So if you're above administrator access and running as something as system, the tool can't actually disable your tools. Furthermore, running as system, you're able to see a lot more activity on the system than you would as administrator. So it's handy to use this sometimes. It does break some functionality of some tools if you do run it as system, because most tools shouldn't be run as system. But it does help in analysis quite a bit. So next we'll just go into some miscellaneous tools. Network Miner is a PCAP analyzer, much like WIRESHARK, but what it does is allow you to pull out common files like executables and images and different sorts of conversations and things, and it lays these things out for you very nicely in a very quick and easy format. And then we have Office Mouse Scanner, and this is a suite of command line tools that allows you to dig down into Office products, so Microsoft Word documents and PowerPoints, Excel sheets, etc. And it will look for embedded OLE objects and streams, and it will try and do brute force analyzing of XOR keys to try and pull out those potentially malicious scripts and files. So a very good tool for analyzing Office products. And then we have the SYSINTERNALS suite, which I mentioned earlier for AUTORUNS, and there are a ton of tools in here. All sorts of things that can give you insight into the system, view all kinds of information about the system, and just very, very handy. One particular tool that gets used a lot is Procmon, which allows you to view various API calls that a particular file is making to the system. And then we have YARA. YARA is basically, think of it as an antivirus signature that you can make. So you can create patterns from files that you have and turn them into signatures. And then if you run these signatures over many, many, many files, you hope that your signature will tag the particular file that you're interested in. In this case, we're looking at a YARA signature for the YARA sniff Trojan,
And this YARA signature particularly looks at an anti-analysis function that it employs. So if we run this over 1,000 files, maybe it tags 3, and then those should be our UR sniff Trojans. That's the idea. And then I think that's it. All of the files and programs in this segment are free with the exception of Microsoft Office and ADOBE Pro. ADOBE Pro does have a free version on their site. It's called ADOBE Pro 5. It's pretty old. It's kind of limited, but you can do all of your disassembly in it. It's not the prettiest to look at because it is so old, but if you want an actual ADOBE Pro license, it is quite expensive. But when you're in this kind of work, it does help to have that sometimes. And then Microsoft Office, of course, you can get a viewer for free, but you need the actual paid license key or some other means to get the Office product. If you'll have any questions about any of the tools I've mentioned in this video, or questions about malware you've seen or analyzed, or how to get into malware analysis, etc., feel free to hit us up at ringzerolabs.com. There's a contact us button on there, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions on anything mentioned in this video or things you've come across in the malware industry, or just things that you're interested in.